7,000 engineers just spent 4 days in San Francisco at the biggest AI engineering event ever held. And the president of Y Combinator stood on stage and told them, the 2x people and the 100x people are using the exact same model, same weights, same context window, same API. The leverage is not in the weights, it's in how you wire the work. This is cortical flow. We ran the entire 9-hour closing day through our pipeline. Every talk, every debate, every number. Here is what the people building this field actually agreed on. First, the word of the day, harness. The definition that stuck came from an AWS engineer. Take an agent, remove the model, and everything you have left, that is the harness. The tools, the memory, the guardrails, the loop. The entire closing day was built around that idea, how to separate the task from the model, and how to scale what's left. The day ran from a survey of over 1,000 working AI engineers through a Stanford-born framework for replacing prompts with specifications, a fireside with Anthropic's Mike Krieger, deep tracks on memory, security, and durable execution, an Oxford-style debate on autonomous coding loops, and it closed with a startup competition worth $100,000. 9 hours of signal. Let's compress it. Start with the state of the field from the survey of 1,048 engineers. 95% of teams now use agents. That's roughly double last year. And the agents got hands. Last year, 52% of agent builders let them write data. This year, 89. Write-enabled agents more than tripled. Now hold that against the third number. 2/3 of engineers say their top frustration is hallucination, or the agent losing context in the middle of a task. So agents went to work, got write access, and still fail in the same 2 ways. And the control layer. The top instruments are still human approvals and permission gates. As the presenter put it, the same toolkit you'd use to manage an intern. Nobody has settled the control layer for agents. The bill arrived with the agents. Cost is now a first-class engineering constraint. Token spend is the number 2 monitored item in production, watched, in her words, like an SLA, right under quality itself. 3 out of 4 engineers say cost shapes how ambitiously they use AI at all. Meanwhile, evals, how you know your system actually works, top the challenge list for the 3rd year running. And the number 1 evaluation method still is the vibe review. On models, 94% use closed models, 45% run open weights, and over 90% of the open weight users also run closed. Open weights augment, they don't replace. And the bets, 67% expect a leading lab to declare artificial general intelligence within 5 years. But only 9% believe transformers are still state-of-the-art by then. Now the keynote claim of the day. Garry Tan, president of Y Combinator, measured his own output against his 2013 baseline as a coding partner and got roughly 400x. He deflated it himself, call it 8x at the floor. But the direction held across the whole batch. In the winter 25 batch, a quarter of companies had code bases that were about 95% AI generated, and it became the fastest growing, most profitable batch in Y Combinator history. His mental model is the interesting part. A skill file is an employee. The resolver table deciding which skill loads when is the org chart. Filing rules are internal process. And trigger evals, checking the right file actually loads, are performance reviews. In his words, you're not writing software anymore. You're hiring, training, and managing a workforce made of markdown. But here is the counterweight, and it came from Google. The best harness is shrinking. Cursor replaced roughly 12,000 lines of orchestration code with about 200 lines of agent files. Manus refactored its harness 5 times in 6 months. LangChain re-architected its deep research agent 3 times in a year. Vercel deleted 80% of its tools and got fewer steps, faster responses, and better accuracy. Vercel's own story makes the point. Their internal data agent started as a mega prompt, evolved into a multi-agent pipeline, and that pipeline failed because each agent only received a summary of the previous one's work. What finally worked was the simplest thing. One agent on a file system with list, read, and bash. The rule Google left the room with: if your harness is getting more complex as the model improves, you are most likely over-engineering your harness. And what is the harness made of? Files. Plain files everywhere you looked. Google's final demo agent had no source code at all, just an instructions file and a bootstrap script. Agents are just files. Theo Brown showed a product that is literally a markdown file on a morning cron job. It reviews pull requests across 4 repositories and publishes a report by 9:15. His line: the new bottom tier of software is a markdown file. The identity startup keycard argued agent memory should just be markdown files with access control, easier for agents than any protocol. And then the startup competition ended the same way. The $50,000 winner was Common.io, a multiplayer markdown editor where humans and agents collaborate in the same live document. Instructions, skills, memory, entire products. Files that humans and agents can both read, write, and version. The security track added the day's hardest rule: deterministic below, judgment above. PostHog ships a setup agent that runs 8,000 times a week on developer machines. Its guardrail is a deterministic rule scanner, and when a rule matches, the gate locks and the session ends. There is no model anywhere on that blocking path. The language model only advises above the gate. They learned this the hard way. Their own subagents tried to invent credentials and pull secrets from anywhere in the codebase, so they banned subagents entirely. Salesforce said the same thing from the enterprise side. Enforce isolation in your infrastructure, never in your prompts. Prompts can be injected. Infrastructure cannot. And a startup called Camad runs agent swarms over commodity trades worth $200 million per deal, governed by a state machine of deny conditions. The agents never touch the funds. They only emit a signal and the bank moves the money. One sentence to keep: if it isn't enforced deterministically, it is not enforced. Then the money slide, literally. Tokens are not fungible. Anthropic's platform team ran a financial analysis benchmark with a fixed budget of 600,000 tokens. Spend it all on one executor, 0.76 accuracy. Same budget, but part of it goes to an advisor role guiding the executor, 0.89. And when they scored it the honest way, where only a perfect answer counts because you cannot make up an income number, the pass rate went from 42% of runs to 75%. Same tokens, different jobs. The flip side is context waste. One team connected 741 tools to an agent. That's 127,000 tokens of tool definitions before the question is even read. And tool selection accuracy collapsed from 78% at 10 tools to 13.6%. A semantic router picking a small relevant set stayed above 83%. And the practitioners working band: keep hard tasks under 60 to 100,000 tokens, even on million token windows. Compaction, they warned, is a lossy fork. Keep the raw log or lose part of the agent. If context is the economy, memory is the frontier, and everyone showed up with a different answer. Oracle called memory the agent's central nervous system and counted 5 kinds you have to manage: short-term, long-term, episodic, procedural, semantic. Their sharpest line: AI makes individuals faster, shared memory makes teams faster. They also quoted Lang Chain's founder: your harness, your memory. If you don't own your harness, you don't own your memory. Garry Tan's version is the company brain. His personal instance holds around 220,000 pages, written mostly by his own agents. But he spent his time on the failure modes. Retrieval is easy, he said. Being worth retrieving from is the product. A brain nobody curates becomes a garbage dump with great search. So, provenance on every fact, contradiction checks, and a librarian whose whole job is pruning. And the line that frames the whole category: model quality is rented. Build your brain and you own that brain. The best hour of the day was the field arguing with itself, an Oxford-style debate on the motion. Write loops, not prompts. On the for side, Jeffrey Huntley, creator of the Ralph loop, who says he hasn't manually written code in 2.5 years, priced autonomous loop labor at $10.42 an hour. His craft is back pressure, pre-commit hooks, static analyzers and simulators that refuse to let the loop finish until the work passes. His words, "The models are drunk, but we engineer away those value domains." The against side did the math on error. Roughly 5% per iteration, compounding, means after 10 or 20 loops you're near coin flip correctness, and it cost you a fortune. And the budgets. Is a good engineer $10,000, $100,000, or $1 million a month in tokens? At some point that cracks. The realistic win today, said the pragmatists, 2 to 3x, while still reading the code. What decides it is verification density. Loops shine where types, tests, and simulators are thick and drift into slop where they are thin. The last finding is the strangest one. Agents are becoming the customer. WorkOS showed that agents are already selecting vendors, picking the email service, the deploy platform, the database, and argued it may now matter more to build for agents than for people. He rewrote the famous Y Combinator motto as, "Make something agents want." Then he announced auth.md, an open specification that lets an agent register for a service with no human click, and demoed an agent shopping deploy providers, signing up with the one vendor that supported it and shipping end-to-end. His apology to the room, MCP is not enough because registration still assumes a human. Airtable's CEO closed the arc with always-on agent fleets, long-running agents on a heartbeat, woken again and again, humans gating only the binding actions, and a control plane he described as zooming out to see the entire SimCity landscape. His confession got the biggest laugh of the day. Going to sleep without setting your agents to work overnight feels like taking a huge loss. So what does 9 hours compress into? One sentence: the model is rented. The harness, the memory, and the evals are what you own, and 7,000 engineers just spent 4 days converging on exactly that. 4 things to watch from here. 1. Whether auth.md turns agent-native signup into a real standard. 2. The memory land grab, every vendor shipped a different answer and nobody has won. 3. Evals, either they become infrastructure, or they top the challenge list a 4th year in a row. 4. The quiet death of the 100-tool agent as catalogs give way to routing. Everything in this video was built from the complete 9-hour closing day transcript, with every claim attributed to the person who said it on stage. Conference commentary and research opinion, not investment advice. This was Cortical Flow. See the world before others do.